Hey everyone, welcome back to Teen TV Deep Dive. I'm your host Alyssa, and here on this podcast we talk about all things teen TV. And Happy New Year, everyone, by the way. So, if you haven't already seen from my other social medias, this week's episode is going to be about the Disney TV show Austin and Ally. And it's a little bit more like kid friendly or like more so for a younger audience in comparison to the other shows that I've kind of talked about. But what made me want to rewatch this is just I've been feeling super nostalgic lately, and I used to love Austin and Ally when I was little, so I thought this was a perfect opportunity to go down memory lane and talk about it with you guys. So when I started rewatching this, I rewatched it really fast. It only took me a couple of days to watch the whole series. But my initial thoughts when rewatching this show is how young everyone looked. Like the first time I watched this show, I couldn't help but notice how young everyone looked. My first time watching the show many years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, they look like such teenagers. They're so old. And like, they just look so much more mature than what they actually were. They look like little kids now. And the songs were really good as well. I really love musicals and just shows and movies that have music like elements to them. And I don't really like sing or think back to any songs from Austin and Ally that I was like, oh my gosh, that song is so good. But they are. Still Your Heart is probably been my favorite one as of recently since we were watching it. But just Austin songs, but as well as Ally songs when she started getting her career going, I really loved all of them. Now I wanted to talk about each character on their own. So first up, of course, was Austin. And I don't know, he was just kind of immature and childish. I think it's just because it was a kids show and his sense of humor and like sense of adventure or whatever was supposed to appeal to more younger kids. Maybe because I'm like old, of course, that I thought that he was childish, but he just didn't really take anything that seriously. And I think that really impacted how I felt about the relationships that he formed throughout the show. Because in season two, he had met this girl. She was on the set of a music video. And they kind of hit it off. And turns out he was the owner of like the record like Jimmy Star. I forgot what his job title is on the show, but Jimmy Star's daughter, Kira, was the girl that Austin was interested in. And they started dating, but Ally got really jealous. And you could tell that Austin low key liked Ally while he was kind of trying to see where things were like with Kira. And I don't know, I felt like the relationship was better off if Austin got with Kira instead of Ally because, like I said, he is very immature. And I think what Kira was looking for in a relationship was more on par with what Austin kind of wanted when he was like, oh, I want a girlfriend, or he feels like he should get in a relationship. I think Kira just wanted cute little dates. They would go to like the little gigs and concerts, and she would come to his shows. And it would just be like a sweet, cute, just teenage relationship. But I think Allie wanted more of a emotional connection and more of an intellectual compatibility with the person that she was going to date. And I just didn't feel like Austin was really there 100%. So I don't know who she should have been with because there was no one really like that in the show. But I just think Austin really liked Allie. So that's why they were able to put aside their differences, major differences, but the relationship worked out nonetheless. Also, Austin's parents own this mattress store. They're mattress royalty or whatever. And it's just been his biggest fear throughout the show is having to work at this mattress store. And I can somewhat see why he struggles with this and why it's kind of a fear of his. Because if that's not what he wants to do or that those aren't his dreams, then I feel like he shouldn't feel trapped down by his parents to try and follow and do what they do because it's safe and it'll make him successful. But I also feel like at the same time, they were in high school throughout the whole course of the show. So I think if Austin worked there just during his high school years, I don't think his parents would have been super upset if he ended up choosing to leave and go pursue a different career, just follow his dreams. But it had him stressing. He did not want to go work at that mattress store at all whatsoever. But yeah, I just thought his parents were funny too. They were always they were always kind of eating his friends up with the little jokes that they made with him. And I also liked his relationship that he had with his mom. It was really sweet. Moving on to Allie, she was the songwriter of the show. So if I didn't explain it already, Austin was like a super pop star of the show, and he would sing and like rock out and everything else. And Allie was the shy girl who worked at this music store in the mall that they all kind of hang out in. And she would write the songs, and Austin would go perform them, and they worked together as a team. But the main reason why she just only wanted to be a songwriter at first is because she had major stage fright. And it was kind of cool to see her get over it, but I wish she had like more serious reasoning behind it. I can't even remember why she had stage fright, but I think it was something like funny and kind of silly. But she ended up getting over it, and she had an amazing career afterwards. So I was really glad to see Allie work through that. And I forgot how many songs that she had that were also bangers, because I remember some of the songs that Austin had, or songs that were sang by Austin rather, and I hardly remembered any of the ones that Allie had wrote and she had sung for herself. But after I heard them, I'm like, okay, Allie girl, you ate that. And I wanted to talk more about the relationship that she had with Austin. To be honest, the show only really was centered around the four of them: Austin, Allie, Trish, and Dez. So they didn't really have any other consistent characters that were also in the cast. But also because Allie was so introverted, I just feel like Austin was the only boy that she ever really talked to. So that's why she like liked him so much. And he was the only boy that she really spent time with one on one. So I don't know if that's a hot take, but I don't really think Austin and Allie were that compatible. I just think in the circumstances that they were under, Allie didn't really spend a whole lot of time with boys like that. And I don't know what Austin's infatuation with her was. I'm not saying that she was an awful person, but you couldn't really pinpoint it, and I couldn't really come up with an idea of why he would like her. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why he likes her. I don't really know. But I feel like that's the only reason why Allie was so drawn to him. And I think maybe if there was another consistent male character outside of Austin or Des, or even if Allie was a little bit more outgoing, then it would have had some different outcomes. But I'm not really mad at it. I like them together. I thought they were pretty cute. But just exploring other options and alternatives to how the storyline kind of went is kind of my thing. So I thought it would have been interesting to see that. Moving on to Trish, she was my favorite character of the show. Looking back, like when I watched it during my childhood, I didn't really have a favorite character per se, or maybe it was Allie because I kind of saw a little bit of myself in her. But Trish was that girl this time around watching it. I loved how she had a different job each episode, sometimes multiple jobs in one episode. And I don't know, I honestly felt like it was kind of an admirable thing to have, because she will never let a job, her getting fired from a job or a job not liking her, it's just not going well for her, she never let that hold her back. And I feel like there was some underlying motivation to it, or like some motivational aspects of her constantly having a different job, because she was never scared to try again and go get a different job, or feel like, oh, this place isn't really working out for me, I'm gonna have to try and conform and change to make things work out. No, she just found a different job. And I feel like you can apply that to a bunch of different aspects of life. So I love that for her, honestly. And yeah, I just couldn't get enough of Trish. She was super funny, super fashionable, and I don't know, I could take a couple of notes from her. I really loved her. Moving on to Dez, there's not a whole lot to say. He was like Austin's quirky best friend. Him and Trish low key beef throughout the earlier parts of the show, but then to the end they were friends, but they just kind of roasted each other for fun. And Des clocked everyone's tea. I never noticed the little quick one-liners that he would have taking digs at everyone, even his bestie Austin. He would constantly keep everyone in check, but it was in the most subtle way ever. And now that I'm older and more mature, I can like keep up with the speed of how his jokes were coming. It was so funny, and I really enjoyed him. I enjoyed Des and Trish a lot through this series. And I feel like my first time watching this show, or when I was growing up watching it, I didn't really appreciate their characters, but now I really do. But overall, watching Austin and Ally, I do think, especially because they're such a tight knit friend group and they had such big responsibilities just for them to be teenagers, they were world pop sensations and they were on TV all the time and they had record label deals and just so many huge responsibilities that are stressful for adults. I couldn't imagine how much pressure you would feel as a teenager. So seeing them deal with a lot of those problems, they also had just being people and being human and interacting with others. They had those friendship uh, problems and relationship problems. I do feel like it was enough complexities of the relationships and like the problems that they had where it could have been, I don't know how I want to word this, but I feel like they could have gone deeper into the roots of the problems and also finding solutions. Because I really did enjoy the show, especially when Austin and Ally were kind of having their will they, won't they situations in seasons 2 and 3. I felt like if there was more detail and not as quick of a resolution to how they got together, I thought that would have been really interesting. And comment down below if you agree or disagree with my hot take. But I really wonder how the audience would have perceived Austin and Natalie if the show was TV 14 and, like I said, have more less simple resolutions to all of the problems and like discourse that happens on the show. And maybe not so much the maturity level or like the type of topics that they talk about would have changed. I feel like they could have stayed the same, but I feel like that definitely would have made it a little bit more juicier. And also, maybe it would have made Trish and Des even funnier if they had a little more freedom with the things that they could talk about and like the way that they could express themselves. So comment down below if you agree. That's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I had a lot of fun rewatching Austin Alley, going down memory lane, but also talking about it with you guys. So if you had anything that you wanted to share, feel free to comment down below. Make sure you follow me on my other social media so you can stay updated and see all the other fun things that I post on there. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Teen TV Deep Dive Podcast for more. I will talk to you guys later. And the next episode, we will be celebrating my birthday. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.